ended up doing better pickleball. We ended up doing better pickleball out of the summit. So the summit makes these beautiful connections like we're making tonight between ourselves and with all these awesome players. And you end up with, you never know where it's going to go. So anyway, so appreciate you all being here with us.
Well, we are live, and you are all being treated to the story of how Tony and I met, which is at the first Pickleball Summit back in 2020. We were all locked down in our houses, nice and tight, back in early March, and 13 of us put together in a summit in less than a week. Or 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. So yeah, it was pretty crazy back then. But hey, everybody out there, I'm CJ Johnson. I'm one of your summit hosts, as well as co-founders, along with my partner in crime over there, Tony Roy. I want to welcome everyone. We're broadcasting on a variety of different channels. This is going out to Facebook, Instagram, 2 YouTube channels, as well as inside of the pickleballsummit.com. So, and that's where you can ask questions. So if you are in the pickleballsummit.com, you can go ahead and ask some questions, and we'll see if these lovely folks can answer them. So you're going to get some amazing professionals here. Tony, why don't we go ahead? You introduce yourself real quick, and then let's introduce
no one wants to hear who I am. Let's
start.
Let's do the panel. This panel is much more interesting than I am, for sure. You're more interesting than I am as well, CJ. But let's start with you, Sarah. You're up in the top corner here. A lot of players may know you. There may be some players who don't know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on with Sarah Weiss.
Hey guys, I feel like the Brady Bunch here. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an awesome, dynamic group of people. I'm from Canada. My name's Sarah Weiss. I am an up-and-coming pro player. I actually used to be a high-performance life coach, and I still do that a little bit, but I've honestly put that on the back burner for coaching in pickleball, traveling the United States and playing tournaments, meeting people like you guys, and just honestly living the dream. Everyone kind of wants to live the dream in pickleball. I'm doing it. I'm traveling. I'm with my boyfriend playing pickleball. Him and I both, we do tournaments, we do camps, we do clinics, we do private lessons. I mean, we're living the dream in pickleball like we all want to. And like I said, I love to meet all these amazing people. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sarah. Next on my screen, and Pickleball Mama, I got to tell you something. I haven't reached out to you about this, but I call my wife's name is Jill, and she plays pickleball, and I call her Mama. Now she's not Pickleball Mama, but you know what I'm talking about. So go ahead, Pickleball Mama. What's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. This is gonna be fun. It's funny because you think you get a little nervous. I'm like, oh man, I'm sitting on a screen with these people. I'm a little bit nervous talking. It seems it's easier when you just record it, So I'm Pickleball Mama. That's usually what everyone calls me when we get to tournaments. It's not Audrey anymore. It's just Pickleball Mama. I guess it's like, I'm over here raising the future of pickleball. I got a 15-year-old, 12-year-old, lefty 5-year-old girl.
That's strong right there. That's the future right there.
She's like well protected. She is not, no one's allowed to have her. And so I just came into pickleball about a couple of years ago. I was a tennis player out of University of Miami. So it was an easy transition for me to get into pickleball, but I've really just had fun being on the online space and kind of like spreading the love all over the world.
All right, quick side note, Pickleball Mama. I was at University of Miami many years ago too, but I didn't play tennis there. But I was there for a year. Yeah, I went there for a year. And don't be nervous. Ercilio's actually a very nice guy. I know everybody gets nervous on Ercilio. I'm a little nervous myself, but he's super chill, so don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Audrey, Pickleball Mama. Sydney, let's go with you. No, not yet, Ercilio. Not yet.
Okay.
We're gonna leash you last.
Okay. All right.
Let's go with Sydney. Sydney, how do you pronounce your last name, please?
Steinecker.
Excellent. Sydney, tell us a little about yourself. What's going on?
Okay, so my name is Sydney Steinecker. I'm so grateful to be with you all today. I have been a content creator and pickleball influencer since 2021, and I was one of the first signed content creators in the sport. Right after I started, I think 3 months after I picked up my first paddle, I was signed my first paddle sponsor, which was wild at the time and really unheard of. And it's crazy to see now we're doing a summit for content creators in the sport, because I remember when I first started, there was only I think 2 or 3 of us in the pickleball world, and now it's grown extensively. And from that point, now I am a content manager for Major League Pickleball. So right now I'm at Major League Pickleball here in Grand Rapids, helping with the events, and I am their full-time content manager. And now I'm actually transitioning into a role for UPA, which is United Pickleball Association. I'm going to be working on their ambassador and influencer program and building that out for them. And yeah, I'm also a two-time author for pickleball as well. I don't know. I feel like I've done a lot of things in the pickleball world in all like content creation aspects.
That is a lot, Sydney. That's awesome. That's great stuff. So congratulations on the promotion and everything. So great stuff. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. Ercilio, how are you, Ercilio?
Thank you, Tony and CA, for making this happen and for the invite. Hi, everyone. I'm Ercilio Cabieses. I am a professional pickleball player. I have stepped out a little bit from the courts the last 2 years because I have focused on growing the sport internationally, mainly from Peru, where I'm from. I'm the president of Pickle Peru, where we have introduced the sport all nationwide. And along with that, we have made the sport accessible with the Cabieses Foundation, where we go all over the world helping the low-income communities, especially kids, providing pickleball equipment to have access to the sport. And now, well, organizing the biggest international event, the Pickleball World Cup, taking place in Lima, Peru, this October as well.
That's awesome. And it's great to see, you know, so many young faces doing so much good stuff. I mean, I know CJ and I are the elder statespersons in the room, I guess, you know, in terms of pickleball. So it's awesome to see y'all getting so active, so involved in different spaces. And Sydney, I meant to mention this as you mentioned the MLP, and we have Kwang Dong is going to be presenting at the summit, and also Judy, and they killed it today at the MLP. I saw the results there. And then Dylan Frazier, come on. Dylan Frazier don't lose. So Dylan Frazier going to be at the summit too. So that's awesome. And he's doing really well out there as well in the MLP. So CJ, anything else before we jump into this stuff? What else we have to cover?
Nah, that's it. Let's go ahead and let's jump in, you know, because one of the things that I know that some of you out there are waiting for is we took a survey before, actually several weeks ago, about your pickleball pet peeves. Now, if you didn't get a chance to get in the survey, we'll let you put one in the chat a little bit later, and we'll look at those a little bit later, because we're gonna share those. I know you've been pretty anxious to share those. We talked a little bit about those on Tuesday, but before we do that, I want to talk about the growth of the game, because everybody knows how pickleball is growing, right? I mean, people used to be like, pickle what? And now you turn on a commercial for anything and you see like pickleball in the background. So pickleball has definitely come mainstream. But what we'd like to do is go around the panel and really get your take on what's going on in pickleball. I mean, do you think it's going to continue to grow at the rate it's growing at? In fact, Novak Djokovic, I don't know if you heard it at his press conference at Wimbledon, he said that potentially he thinks pickleball has the ability to outgrow tennis. And so there's been a little bit of pushback on that. Or, you know, if you want to talk about what you think could threaten that growth of our sport. So I tell you what, Sydney, you're there. You're at the MLP. Why don't you just knock it out of the air first?
Put Sydney on the hot spot right there.
You got it.
Start with Sydney. Go ahead.
We're going. I tell you what, we're gonna go to you.
I mean, I will say this is completely just blown up the past few years, and I think seeing pickleball from, I guess, 4 years ago to now, just seeing the tournaments and how much they've grown from a sponsorship level, player level, spectator level, amateurs playing. It's honestly, I think it's going to keep on growing at it's going. I don't know for how long it's going to be going, because I mean, I feel like we've seen in the past, like so many sports like racquetball, like in the 90s, like blow up and then it just kind of like tapers off. But I feel like right now we're seeing so many pickleball facilities opening throughout the US, and with those facilities opening and more people getting into the sports, I mean, pickleball is such a social sport, and I think it's going to be growing more on the amateur side, I think, than on the pro side for a little bit, just because, I don't know, you go to your local parks and majority of the time, a lot of the like players there have no idea of like who the top pros are, because most people, they just come into pickleball and they just want the social aspect of it. They want that to feel like, or I guess not feel, but I'm trying to figure out the right way to put this. They want that competitive again that they once had. And I feel like because of the like low barrier to entry, we can get a lot of newer players interested as well. I mean, anyone can play pickleball. Like, pickleball is for everyone. You see it everywhere. Pickleball is for all. And I mean, someone that has little to no athletic ability can go and play pickleball and have the best time of their life. They're just hitting the ball over the net. And even though their rallies are really short, they're still having the best time ever. And I think those are the players that are going to be growing the sport, actually, more so than the professional level.
It's super interesting. It's super interesting that you say that. Hey, I would also like to hear, not just from Sydney, I'm gonna let Tony call on another panelist. I'll let you guys figure that one out. But I do want to know from those of you who are watching, what do you think? Do you think pickleball is going to continue to grow? Or do you think, or do you think there's something that could get in the way of pickleball growing?
Is there a looming obstacle out there? Audrey, let's go with the pickleball mama. From your perspective, what are you seeing out there? What are you seeing in your growth of your channel and everything you're doing? What feedback are you getting? How does it feel to you?
So when you asked the question, I thought about like junior pickleball, right? Because that's kind of where I'm at a lot. I mean, I play on the pro level. I've been bringing my son with me, trying to help him get on tour. But then we do the junior events, and there's so much room for growth, but I think it still has a bit of it still needs more time. It needs more years, because like the girls, it's like you can't get a girl. You see like a list of registrations and it's like all boys, and I have 2 boys and I'm like desperate. Where are the girls at? So I think there's a lot of time. I think there's going to be a lot of growth. I think you're going to see like a generational change. Like the game is I think it's going to be completely different over, I don't even know, every year. It's going to change all the time. And there's still like a ton of room for growth. I really resonated with what Sydney was saying. I think it's a big rec sport. I'm not sure. It's a little, I play at the pro level. I'm going to say it. It's a little boring to watch on TV. a little bit. It's a little hard to watch. MLP I would say is like the fun one for me as a player to watch, because it's like different partnerships. So I don't know, that could potentially be an obstacle, right? It could be a little boring. Because the shots are
but I don't know, Audrey. I've seen some pretty I mean, I'm a tennis guy. I came from tennis, right? So I love tennis, but I've seen some pretty boring tennis matches too. Like, unless you know tennis, right? If you don't know tennis, that's what I think will change too. It's like, as players pick up the sport more, then they'll understand the dance that's happening. They'll see the nuances and like, oh, so-and-so just dinked to the middle, which is weird because, whatever. Or like Matt and Riley are backward. What's going on? So they're starting to pick that up and seeing those details that casual players casual viewers, I should say, may not pick up, right now. So.
Yeah. I come from a very strong tennis background, and even tennis was hard for people to watch, right? Till like Venus came in, till like some really cool personalities came in and made it more relatable, right? Yeah. That's when tennis looked cool.
Well, you need stories, right? You want storylines. Yeah. You need storylines. You need like wrestling storylines. That's attractive in any sport, I think. But let me ask you a question. Let me ask a question to the panel. So we're gonna keep it in a panel, and you guys can just chime in if you want to, because you brought up something interesting, which is the junior piece. I think that's super important, right? The growth of juniors part of pickleball. But there's an interesting dynamic that we witnessed at the New York Cup. We were up there at the APP New York Cup, I don't know, 2 months ago or something like that. And one of our team members and a friend of ours was playing, I think it was 3-5, and they merged divisions, So she played against Megan and Ryler's daughter. I think Lily's her name, and her partner, who was same, 11 and 13.
That was my son.
No, this was women's, not mixed.
Oh, okay. I thought it was me.
No. And so, but what's interesting is this, right? It creates, because I want the kids to be able to play, right? I want all ages to be able to play, but it does create an interesting dynamic in that particular match, right? Where you have I think 35-year-old, 37-year-old playing against, 11, 12-year-olds, right? Because then it's like, kind of like, you want to play fully, right? But then you're kind of like, you also don't want to, what I mean? It's just, I feel like it's an awkward, I feel like it's an awkward dynamic, and again, I don't want the kids to be excluded. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, but I think that's why it's important for us to build that out more, so that, like the kids can play, with other kids, you know what I mean? I just find it like it's kind of an interesting dynamic. At least I thought it was interesting. So
I mean, I completely agree. I think as a mom, like, I don't want to hit a drive at like another little kid. Like, it's a little bit like, I don't really want to. And it can happen, Yeah. And for my son.
Well, what do you do with a put away? You get a pop up, right? And you're like, here we go.
Yeah. I mean,
like a 10-year-old standing there and you're just like, let's roll. And you're like, I don't know.
Right. And then I see in
weird,
singles, my son's small, he's 12 and he's little. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you can't expect to take out these. I know skill wise, everything looks better, right? Your shots look cleaner, but like, you're 12, kid, like
power and stuff.
Kind of hard to like. So I really love the juniors for that, like 12, that age group around.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have more effort on that part of the sport, right? Of developing that part of the sport.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right, cool. I guess unless somebody else wants to opine on that, I got Sarah coming up next. Sarah, come on in. You can opine on that. Anything else you want to talk about the growth of pickleball and any obstacles you see?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching the growth. I've been playing for 3 years, and in 3 years, so much has changed already, from paddle technology and like how fast the game is played. And I remember when I first started, like the average player was like in their 50s, and only like a year and a half, 2 years into playing, the average player became my age, which was 35. Which I was like so excited, like, oh, sweet, it's not a senior citizen sport anymore. But then I started going to tournaments across the US, and I was noticing like the next gen, like the teenagers playing, and they played such a different game. It was so much more agile and quick, and the speed ups were coming like crazy. So I kind of look at the teenagers right now, and they're starting to come into their own. And like the old guard is kind of getting replaced by these very young, strong, athletic teenagers. And I know the average age continues to lower and lower and lower. And I remember when I first started playing, I heard a lot of people say the only reason I'm playing is because I saw you on a court and thought, oh, it's not just for old people anymore. So I think the fact that so many more people are seeing that young people are not just playing, they're playing hard and fast, and they're having fun, and it's like competitive. And this isn't just like your grandma's sport, hitting lobs the whole time. I think seeing that is really revving people up, and the games are getting more and more exciting to watch, even the ones that are strategic and slower. Like when I'm at the MLP too, and I'm not right beside the center court, but I was eating off to the side, and the roars I was hearing from some of these points, the roars are getting really loud. Like the excitement from the crowd is not just like golf claps. It's not that. People are really excited watching these huge points that are drawn out like 50 hits, and then a huge put away after one crazy mistake from a big setup and a hands battle and like a big lob and huge defense. Like there's a lot to the sport that can keep people going, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I really do think that the sport is getting more and more exciting to watch. The younger generation coming in is exciting more people and making people go, oh, it's not just grandma's sport. I think I want to try this. I hear it a lot. So I love that. It feels good to be playing in a group that's expansive, and you never know who you're playing with. It's really cool. I hear all kinds of different stories of people who I've been playing with for years. It's like, I actually never really got to know you, but these people that you're playing with, some of them are like firemen and doctors and like all types of people. And some of them are young, really, really young. Like I've played against, I was actually playing a pro event, and I was playing against someone who was 45 and his mixed partner was 12. And I'm like, her mom's behind me, and I looked at her, I'm like, I'm so sorry if I'm hitting the ball too hard. But I was like, I had my daughters there watching, and I was like, guys, watch this girl, watch her, and just like see what's happening. And it was so awesome. My youngest daughter, who's 9, after that game, and I mean, we won it, but she, like the 12-year-old played really well. My youngest daughter comes up to me and she's like, when we get home, I want to take this serious. I want you to teach me how to do this. So it's inspiring the younger generation. So I 100% think that it's going to continue to grow, and that the younger generations are going to continue to drive that growth, because they're seeing all these young people, the juniors and the teenagers come in and take it so seriously and loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sarah. And Celia, I'm going to throw it to you, but I want to pivot a little bit if I can. You can talk generally if you want to as well. But you mentioned international, and you and I know each other, so I know a lot of what you're doing. Dive into that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing on the international stage in terms of growth that you're seeing in different parts of the world that you're aware of, and maybe some of the efforts that you're involved in to help that. And you touch a little bit on the tournament too that you have coming up, the event.
Yeah, for sure. I think I have like two stories here. I mean, one in the States when I started like teaching pickleball, I remember like I will go to like gym floor courts, and basically I will come a year after and they will have dedicated courts. Or I will go to a park that have like 1 or 2 courts and now all of a sudden there are 8. I mean, a great example there is like the Belknap Park, like now in Major League Pickleball. Like that park, I mean, had an amount of courts, right? And every year they keep putting more and more. And I remember when like I was like, okay, the sport gonna hit big. When I was at that park, and I saw a couple of ladies coming with a tennis racket, and they were like, oh, I guess there are no tennis courts anymore. You know, they are playing pickleball. So I did see that grow a couple of years ago, and that's when I started in Pickle Peru. We started, like, as I said, like chalking the courts, taping the lines, and we start with like 3-4 people like coming every Sunday to play. And I think like it wasn't we have players because they didn't know about the sport. So once people start coming in, it was just like, okay, I'm coming every Sunday. I'm coming every Sunday. The group start growing. All the time, like it start going crazy. We start painting the lines, having like more infrastructure for courts availability, and all the time, like last week, we had an open play in 6 courts, and within three hours in Peru, 155 people sign up. So that's when you were like, okay, 3.5 years ago, nobody play, and with like all infrastructure problems that we don't have, like the States here, we have dedicated pickle courts. People are playing the sport and they're addicted to it. So on the international side, I mean, like I've been to like Cuba, I've been to Ecuador, Colombia, like taking the sport. And in Cuba, there are kids playing in the dirt, you know, barefoot on the streets, and they're loving the sport, you know, and like they're coming with their parents. Same like in all these South American countries. So I do believe that the sport is going to keep growing, especially internationally. I think like the market in the States has a lot of growth still, but I think you're going to see a lot of international growth in the next year.
All right, so that brings me to something, because you hit on 2 things there, Celio. You hit on international growth, and you hit on lack of courts, which I think that's one of the things I'm starting to say that I'm seeing in the comments. So for those of you who are watching, here's what I'd like you to do. I want to know where you're from and what the courts are like in your area. Do you have plenty, or are you short on courts? And I want you to, I am never going to be able to say this well. What I put on, this is coming from someone in Spain. So either Tony or Arcilio, you can acknowledge Gustavo and say where
Gustavo.
He's from.
¿Cómo estás? Andalucía. Chiclana de la Frontera. Wow, that's intense. That's good. And that's Gustavo was my father's name, so I like that name. My father and my cousin. So.
All right. So he's coming to us from Spain. So tell us where you're from and lack of courts. Bill is saying there's a lack of courts. What is it like in your area? Whoever on the panel
DJ,
wants to chime in.
Nobody's going to say there's plenty of courts. I don't know a single player will say like, oh yeah, we have enough courts. We're good. We don't need any more. We're solid.
We got a bunch here in Tahoe now.
But you don't have plenty. You guys still get busy and you guys still have weights. I've been there. I know what it looks like.
We don't even have dedicated courts where I live.
Where are you at?
Southern Maryland. I live in the forest. And
maybe that's why. I don't know.
It's like
maybe it's a forest issue.
The courts are so like we're so desperate. Like I have to drive at least an hour to go find high level play or to get on a decent court, which is probably going to be most likely indoors. But yeah, I'm desperate for like really pretty looking courts that are not cracked and not painted on tennis courts, please.
And Celio brought up gym courts. How many of you started your pickleball careers on? I did on gym court. I started on a gym court. That's where I first learned how to I played on an outdoor court. Then everything was indoor for me. What about you guys? I
got invited to an indoor court and I definitely got hurt. I'm like, yeah, I'm never playing on that. I don't know what it did to my hip, but I was like, and that was like when I was addicted. I was like going anywhere and everywhere. You invited me, I was going, and I went, and I think I was out for like a month. I was like, yeah, you'll never see me on a gym floor again.
In Ottawa,
CJ, in Ottawa, there
wasn't that many public courts. There were facilities, as I was leaving, there were more facilities popping up, but nothing like special as far as public courts go. But I'm in Edina, Minnesota now, and there are tons. There's actually like tons of free public courts where there's 6 to 10 public courts and nice like rooftop shelters and all the nice paddle racks and stuff, like tons of them. It's a huge, huge difference that you don't have to pay to get on. In Ottawa, any of the outdoor courts that were like nice and like groomed and taken care of, you'd have to pay a membership, and it was way overpriced, although we all paid it because we want to play pickleball and we're addicted. But yeah, Minnesota is doing pretty well as far as tons of facilities popping up like crazy. Like a new one just popped up, and we're now working there out of a pickler. It's one of the growing franchises that's doing very well. So I do see a lot of growth in Minnesota for sure, personally.
Yeah, it's good to see these. It looks like there's some franchises that are growing, popping up. Chicken and Pickle, Pickler. I mean, there's different organizations that are starting to try and figure out a way to monetize that. I don't know how. I have no idea how that works. CJ, can I kick the hornet's nest? I want to kick the hornet's nest.
Oh, you can kick the hornet's nest.
All right.
Really? You're gonna kick the hornet's nest?
And well, here's what I want to do. And I want. If you're out there, if you're watching this, let us know what you think about it as well. But we're gonna dive into paddles because there's the conversation about paddles getting too hot. With the Gen 3 paddles, and just kind of like, and if you can talk about it, tell us what you think about these like hot paddles. And it doesn't matter the manufacturer. We're not picking on anybody. We don't want to talk about like the litigation. That's not the point of this. The question really is a bigger picture about like, how do you guys see the impact of the newer paddles and where we may even be headed, right? With faster paddles impacting the game at the end of the day. And is it good or bad for the game, and why? So I'm going to start. Why don't we start with Pickleball Mama? Audrey, why don't we go with you? You look like you came from tennis. You know what's up.
And you know what? If you have a comment on paddles, I'm just going to jump in here, Audrey. If somebody has a comment on paddles, go ahead and put it in the chat, what you're thinking about paddles and what you're seeing at your courts.
Paddles. Let's just say I played against 2 gearboxes, and the sound and I couldn't like react to the sound or the speed off the paddle. So I would like it to like kind of disappear a little bit, only because it was the strangest feeling. Okay, I'm just gonna tell the story. We were in APP Miami. We were playing against 2 gearboxes, and it was real. I could see the ball coming at me. I knew what shot was coming, but for some reason my timing and everything was off. And I don't know if it had to do with the sound or that those things are hot, but those things do fine. And then the Gen 3, my kids love it. Let's just joke around about this. My kids love the Gen 3 paddle. They love the pop on that. They love demolishing people with that Gen 3. They love to play with it for fun. I guess as an older player, I prefer that it gets slowed down a little bit. I don't know how that's going to happen or if it will. Technology is always going to keep getting better. The court's so small. I don't know. Wear glasses.
Glasses for sure.
For
Sydney,
sure.
can you take a stab at this one, or is it off limits? I don't want to put you on a weird spot.
No,
you make the call whether you want to talk about it or not. So,
I will just say, like, as a player that used to play with the Gen 3, I'm sponsored by Yola, and I played with the Ana Bright paddle when they had it. I will say I was considering playing pro for like a solid like few weeks because I'm like, oh, I'm like winning all my matches now. I was like, oh, I'm like literally like winning like all my rec games at my local like courts. I'm beating all the 5-0 players. Like this should be like a walk in the park. Then I went back to my normal Gen 2 paddle and I was like, oh wait, never mind. I'm not that good at pickleball. But I will say that I do think that I want to see the sport grow with this technology, obviously, and we've seen that from paddles 3 years ago to now. I mean, there's been a significant change. I pick up the paddles I used to play with and I'm like, they feel like toys almost. I'm like, I can't believe I used to like hold rallies with this thing. And I think that powerful paddles are a good thing, but I don't think pickleball is ready for them yet. Mostly also because like for pro players who can actually control the ball, I think a paddle like that could be pretty dangerous. Because I mean, like, and they can control the ball, but also I think for amateurs they're even more dangerous, just because I'm just players that don't have as much control and they have this really powerful paddle. I think that can cause injuries, especially to eyes, or yeah, I mean, they're just extremely powerful. I mean, you just take like a tennis player that just comes into pickleball who's swinging away with a really poppy paddle. Um, and they're going to their local rec centers playing against players that aren't that good at blocking or know how to dodge balls. It could be not so good results. So I don't really know exactly what measures need to happen in the meantime, or where we should be at right now. But I just think, and it's probably not a now thing, but it can be a future thing.
Thank you, Sydney. Appreciate you taking the heat on that one and doing it. I'm going to jump to Arcilio, and then we'll finish with you, Sarah. You can close out this segment. So, Arcilio, what are your thoughts? And maybe you face some of them and go like, "What's going on?" I don't know. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am very concerned about the new technologies coming into the game. I was actually like 2 years ago. I remember like a really big brand in pickleball came to me and gave me some prototypes to try out. And basically, I went to an indoor facility. I was trying the courts, the paddles, and the owner of the venue kind of like kicked me out and say, "Hey, you cannot play with those paddles anymore because you're gonna hurt someone." So this was 2 years ago when like any of these paddles came out to the market, and the engineer at the time was like, "Hey, like these paddles are gonna be the new technology." But I mean, I that time I was working in the country club, right? So my biggest concern was the safety issues, and I do believe like we're waiting for an accident to happen in order to like regulate the paddles. I mean, as Sydney said, like it's really hard to make a measurement of like what paddles to prove or what not. But there is to take some consideration because it's changing the actual sport, right? I mean, like we playing people for 3.5 years. I mean, of course, the game is getting faster, players are getting better, they're getting more consistent. But I do believe that the game of pickleball is just changing and like speeding up right at the body, right? And I think like that can cause accidents, especially for not really athletic players, right? That they can hit the ball really hard and can cause an accident. So we definitely like the USA Pickleball should take action shortly because like we don't want that to happen in the sport.
Thanks, Arcilio. It's yeah, I appreciate the perspective there. Sarah, what you got on this one? Go ahead. CJ got something. Go, CJ.
I was just going to say just a lot of things too. Is Tony and I were talking about this on the Ask Me Anything the other night. My first paddle was a $45 Paddle Tech Element. My second paddle, everybody thought I was insane. I bought an Onyx. It was different. It had a very thin core, and I spent $85 on that paddle, and everybody thought I was out of my mind. That was
a fortune back in the day.
And I mean, that's only like that. Now, let's be honest, though. This is not like we're talking about 1999. Wow. Okay, I know I'm old enough. This is like 2017 or 2018 when that happens. So one of the comments that we're seeing a lot, if you've been seeing them come across, is also the price of the paddles. What are you guys thinking about what's happening with that and how that's potentially changing our, how fees are really changing our game?
So we're going to start with you, Sarah. So you got the double question now. You got a question about paddles. Do you want to talk about it? And then the pricing paddle, and then we'll come back to the panel and do the whole thing around.
Well, that was actually the first thing I was going to say is I'm honestly more concerned with the price of the paddles than the speed and power. I play with a gearbox because I don't hit very hard. I've always been a control player, but now that I have that, it's kind of nice to have in my tool belt. And I will say, like, I played in a tournament in Cincinnati, and we ended up playing against a mixed doubles team, and the guy had a Gen 3, and God, that ball moved fast. It inspired me to start wearing eye protection, which I didn't before. So it actually has made me play safer now. And for me, it like made me want to be better. So I didn't want to say, well, it's because of the paddle that we lost, and we lost pretty bad, I believe. It actually like motivated me. I was like, I got to get good because the technology is getting better. And obviously, harder, faster, stronger is like the way in sports. So when I went home, I was like, I got to drill against a wall. I got to let my boyfriend just like drill balls at me and try and get comfortable with the bigger speed and the more power. So I'm trying to like get better to handle it. But obviously everything that people are talking about, we don't want to like jeopardize people's health in this sport. But I would say that, at the higher levels and the pros, that's how they play anyways. And to see things move quicker, harder, stronger, faster, obviously it's great for the fans. They want to see that. we just don't want to see anyone get hurt and like lose an eye. But I think it's really good to see more players playing with eye protection so that that doesn't happen, and that like pickleball doesn't get this name for like a lethal sport because of it. So I personally got motivated, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like it can be dangerous, and that's not good.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. If anybody else wants to opine on, go ahead, CJ.
I do want to put a plug in. I know you're a Gearbox sponsored athlete, but I'm going to put this in because we believe in it. That's what I wear. Gearbox makes some excellent eye protective lenses. As a player who almost lost an eye to a golf ball, right? I'm a golf pro, and in my 20s, I almost lost my right eye to a golf ball. I take it very seriously, and I have been hit by a pickleball. Thank God I had glasses on, right? It hit off the top of the net. Been hit from another partner's paddle, all those sorts of things. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Be wearing glasses, people. Put your glasses.
Yeah, Gearbox makes a great product. I know Raya's gotten into that space as well. So, you know, it's good to see.
And it's not just from the ball hitting you in the face. A lot of the times it's the paddle from your partner or a ricochet off your partner's paddle or your paddle. People think it's because you think you're going to get an overhead smash directly to the eye. That's typically not the case when you get hit in the eye. It's from something like a net cord or something like a deflection where you really don't see it coming. And that can happen to anyone. I don't care if you're Ben Johns or Annalie Waters. Like you don't see that coming.
Yeah, agreed. Anybody else want to opine on paddle pricing? You can just go ahead and jump in if you want to. If you don't want to, it's perfectly fine.
Honestly, they're way too expensive. I mean, I will say, like, if I wasn't getting paddles for free, I would not be spending as much.
Sydney speaks for the people. You speak for the people, Sydney.
I would never pay that much. I would never pay that much.
I believe, like, as an ambassador of the sport who is trying to grow the sport internationally, like, this is a big obstacle for me, right? I mean, I remember with the foundation, we started giving woolen paddles to the kids because that's what we can afford and we can, like, produce a lot of them. And now, like, they need, like, this, like, new technology with a new carbon fiber, like, face. And, of course, it's getting more expensive. So it's also getting more expensive to massify the sport, right? So I hope like the paddles like get exactly the price, but also like the cheaper paddles are also like good paddles where they can compete with the new technology they have nowadays.
Agreed. All right, CJ, I'm going to kick over another hornet's nest. So we dealt with paddles. We've dealt with growth of the sport's not really a hornet's nest, but we're going to talk about rules because this is Pulse of Pickleball, right? So we got to talk rules. And I'm going to give you
the chat's going to fly now, right? It's because everybody's going to be sharing their rules as well. All right.
I'm going to give it's a two-parter. You can pick whichever one you want to answer. You answer both if you want to, it's fine. But look at it two ways. One is there a rule that we currently don't have that you think we should adopt and why? You know, I think this rule would make the game more interesting or better or safer, whatever you think, right? The other way to look at it is there a rule that we currently have that we should change or maybe gives players trouble and we could modify it to make it simpler? I think we haven't started with you, Sarah, so let's jump in with you. You just finished, but we'll jump in with you first.
Stop lobbing me.
You want to get rid of the lob? I love it. No shots above 6 feet.
Yeah, it's tough to lob me, yes. But no, honestly, I like to see that it evolves and that they're trying different things with the serves and stuff. The serve, I don't know that it should be such a weapon. So what they're doing with the serve, trying to, drop it from waist height, and almost every year they kind of change how the rules of the serve are out there. I like that they do that. I like that they evolve it because I don't think the serve should dictate so much of the rally. Especially if someone's doing like the chainsaw serve, for example. I'm glad they got rid of it because that was just killing the whole rally. I mean, it was just serve return dead at the pro division, which is really messed up. So to see how they're evolving that, I just want to continue seeing how they evolve it. It's not that I want to stop seeing cool, awesome, powerful serves. I just would rather see longer rallies. And obviously the hard serves to return are kind of dictating the whole rally. So that would be my take on that.
All right, serve. I love it. Let's go with Ercilio. Let's go with you second.
I'm not sure about the rule, but I would like to see a little bit more of a hawk eye for the balls. I know like they're implementing that in this MLP, and I do believe like the calls for the ball sometimes in the tournaments are really like tight. So I do believe like having that technology will solve a lot of issues, especially on the Pro Tour.
Awesome. Good stuff, Ercilio. All right, Sydney, how about you? Can you comment on rules? I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but if you can, throw it out there.
Personally, I would just like to see rules that can't be taken as subjective. So one thing I don't like about the whole drop serve rule or just dropping the ball from, I guess, waist high is it's subjective just to the referee. Because the ref may interpret it as one way compared to another one. So I think just having one overarching rule that can be interpreted the same way by everyone would be ideal for the sport. I know I don't want to comment too much on this because this is a really touchy subject. So
understood. I think it's interesting about, and I'm going to get to you, Pickleball Mom, in a second, but I do think it's interesting about the serve. Like I've watched I guess it's, they use it in MLP too, Sydney, the PPA rule, the thing where you got to hold it like at a 45. Is that okay? So
actually, it's only for PPA too. So actually it's only on the PPA tour, not for MLP.
Not MLP. Okay. So that thing, I've watched some of those matches and it's like, they still bring up the hand. So it's so like fine, right? I'm just like, to me, the drop serve takes care of it. Whether you like the drop serve or not, whatever. But the drop serve handles takes care of the 3 rules, takes care of all this stuff, So anyway, whatever. Pickleball Mama, what do you think? What do you got there on the rules?
I was thinking, I'm like, what are the rules? Like, are there any rules that are that important? And I'm like, oh, I think it's the serve that they're talking about. Yeah, so I think everyone needs to agree to one, man, because like for people, I like play on the APP tour, I can do this. I play MLP, I can toss it up. For PPA, I have to do this. And so because PPA is a little different, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to learn how to hold the ball like this. But it's gotten pretty lax, so I don't know. I just would love, I guess, because it's like the Wild Wild West still, right? But like eventually, I'm sure everything will, like the dust will settle. And like there'll be like a standardized thing for the whole serve thing. I think when you just said that about the drop serve, I'm like, maybe that does solve the problem. I don't know. So
yeah, Pulse of Pickleball Mama. We solve the problems in pickleball here. We bring him to the panel, we make decisions, and then it's all handled.
Make it happen. Yeah, make it happen.
Exactly. All right, CJ,
I
you ready
know
to jump
someone
into
in the comments was mentioning the ball. I will actually comment on that. There's so many different balls, and the amount of complaints about that Vulcan ball. Yeah. I've only played with it a couple times, and it is just, whether it's good or bad, I don't care, but it's so different to the Dura and the Franklin and the Oso and the Core. And I mean, they're all so slightly different that when you play with it, you got to adjust your game completely. So if I were to see something, I'd like to see one same ball across the board. I think someone mentioned that in the comments, and honestly, I totally agree with that.
I haven't played with a Vulcan yet, but I can tell you, like we talked about indoor gym play, like when you play with an indoor ball, any indoor ball, and an outdoor ball, it's like a different sport entirely. Like it's like not even the same game. So yeah, and definitely some variations, a hot Franklin versus a cold Franklin or whatever, So anyway, what's weird, right, is I don't know, you guys have been around the sport long enough. There was a time when Dura was like, the master of the balls, right? They were like the ball, and now it's like Dura? Who plays Dura? So anyway, all right, pet peeve time, CJ. Ready for this?
You got it. So you know what? We've got a few that are in the chat already, but if you've got a pickleball pet peeve, you can drop it in the chat and we'll be sharing.
Drop it in the chat. We'll share that. We'll share that when we finish this round. And then we got a lightning round that we're going to go through. So on the pet peeves, let me tell you, we'll tell everybody what the answers were to the pet peeves survey that we did with over 300 respondents. 15% were in the rules, and 15% combined were line calls, which Ercilio touched on with the Hawkeye, and illegal serves, which we're all talking about, right? So it covered exactly what you guys are talking about. That's what really gets in sticks in the craw, right? 17% said their partner not coming up to the non-volley zone line. That's one. Obviously, in rec play, that can be a real thing, particularly in open play. And then 21% said bangers. So nobody likes bangers. So players hate bangers. All right. So here's what we want to ask you guys. In terms of like where you all play and your communities you're in, what is, and this is not, I want to be clear with everybody, we're not asking the panelists their pet peeve. That's not the point of this. We want to, because this is Pulse of Pickleball, we want to find out what is it that either you've heard a lot or you see a lot or something that's kind of a pet peeve of players out there where you're at. So let's start this time with, why don't we start with you, Sydney?
I know this is like a little bit more of upsets like the lower level players typically. But the pickleball pet peeve in my area is when top players can't play with just top players. It feels like I feel like that it gets on a lot of lower player levels nerves because they want to play with the higher level players because they want to get better. I was one of those players when I first started off. I was a little 2-5 level player that just wanted to play with all the 4-0, 4-5s because I thought that was going to make me better. And to me, I thought it was getting better, and it probably did make me better. But I feel like, yeah, just a different level of play and like not being able to play with them. I think that's the biggest pickleball pet peeve in my area.
That was in the survey as well. We got plenty of those on the survey as well in the other category. All right, Pickleball Mama, let's jump at you.
I think you're going to have to come back around to me on that. I'm not sure what goes on. I don't really typically play rec play anymore or open play to like know what some of the
Audrey, I get the sense that you're like operating, you're in a different level of Zen. You've reached a different level of like, closer to nirvana than most of us. You're like, I'm good. Everything's, what are the rules? What's going on?
You guys, I don't even really keep score. My kids get mad because I can't keep score. I'm like, I'm not here to keep score. I'm here to learn how to play the game.
So we're gonna put you down, Pickleball Mama. Okay, you got one? Or we'll put you down. We're gonna put you down for everything is good, and we're playing pickleball.
Fine.
Let's relax and have a good time. I like it. All right.
Yes.
All right, Sarah, you got one in your area?
So I don't get it anymore, but when I first started, the unsolicited advice was just too much. Now, I like a good tip when it's presented properly, but like, you got to hit that ball in. Really? Really? That's what that's the advice you're going to get. You got to hit that ball in, soften up. Like the obvious stuff that's like, yeah, I know. When someone pulls you aside and says, hey, you should try dropping your paddle head a little bit lower and following through where your paddle reaches the top of the net. That's different. But the obvious ones, don't hit the ball out. Thanks, buddy. I'll take note. That drove me nuts coming up. I don't get that anymore, thankfully. But yeah, that drove me nuts when I was back in the day. And that and sandbagging. No one likes sandbaggers.
My favorite thing when I was coming up was I was playing with a guy named David here locally. Nice guy, good player. And I poached in front of him. And I was a newer player, right? And I was at the top court and it was with him. So I poached and I hit it. And he was like, that's a great shot, Tony. And I kid you not, like three shots later, the same thing. I come across, I poach, and I miss it. He goes, what'd you do that for? And I'm like, it's the same thing, man. All right. And Celia, what you got? You got any pet peeves that are developing in Peru, anywhere else, or in your community? Whatever. Wherever you want to talk about.
I'm not sure because I don't play like much open play anymore, but I can tell you like when I play with my friends, it's always a competitive group, and sometimes the egos, the competition makes you mad. But I think like tapping the paddles at the end of the game is a must. I do believe like even you're heated, your friends outside the court, and I think like we keep that like very respectfully, and doesn't matter the result. We're gonna give a hug at the end of the day, right? So I do believe that we are losing a little bit that on the professional pickleball now, which I think like is part of competition, but on our social games in our park, I think we should keep tapping the paddles.
I think we should keep tapping the paddles on every level. I don't understand, like reaching out with your paddle and touching somebody's paddle. How's that like give you a negative? Yeah. How does it affect you negatively? Give you negative chance or something. That makes sense to me. But anyway, CJ, what you got on the community pet peeves? I know you've been following those. So what we got?
We've been putting it up, and you're hitting the nail on the head, right? Sandbaggers keeps coming up a lot. Players who won't play with different levels. That's another big thing. And there was somebody, actually, I haven't been pulling in a lot of YouTube contents, but this kind of, Stephen kind of grabbed the whole sentiment right there, right?
Oh yeah.
We were all beginners at some point in time. Thank goodness somebody played with us.
We all sucked at some point. We were all awful at some point. We didn't know what the hell was going on at some point. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Stephen. That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stephen, get your summit ticket. There's still summit tickets, and they're free and online. You get to have these awesome presentations. So come into the summit. We want you, Steve.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, CJ, I'm going to hit the lightning round. You ready for a lightning round?
You go ahead and you hit the lightning round.
All right. If you're watching this and you want to participate in the lightning round, feel free to. I'm going to hit the lightning round, and we're going to keep it like this. We're just going to round bam, 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 bam. It's basically, it could be yes, no, and a quick why and whatever. But we're going to keep it like this. And then if you want to participate in the community, hit it in there. All right, here we go. All right. This is, I put this one in here because this is personal to me. And I'm going to give you my answer when you guys are done. The Ernie is a valuable shot for players to learn. Yes or no? And go ahead and Celia, you start since you're at the top.
I mean, I do believe it's valuable. I think like if they know how to use it as a weapon. I mean, I know a couple of players that they don't really hit the ball, but they just like make the movement, and that kind of like freaks the opponent a little bit off. So I do believe like at least the movement, the motion of it, like is super important because it can get you some free points.
Sydney, I think I'm putting you on the spot on a lot of these because you got to say the Ernie's good, right? The MLP, right?
Yeah. So Ernie is amazing. And actually, I'm going to agree a lot with Hercilio on that. That I think just even if you don't execute the Ernie, just the movement of the Ernie is enough that could actually give you points just for that, creating that pressure.
Pickleball Mama, how do you feel about it?
Yes, I'm very short. I had to actually ask my kids to teach me how to do it. I was like, I don't understand when's the right time to jump this line. But yes, I like the Ernie.
All right. Sarah, what about you?
I love the Ernie. Oh my God. The first time I saw someone do it, I was like, what just happened? I had no idea what they were doing. So I like had to research it. And I was a 3-0 when I first saw it. I did all the research and I started to try it myself, and I couldn't do it for so long. But once I finally hit it, I was around 3-5. It felt so good. And I do it all the time now. And just being able to see it, like you see it coming. So at this point, you know, after trying so many times, failing a bunch of it, now like having that eye for it is so useful. And even just jumping across will mess your opponents up. That alone is priceless because you see them like hesitate and not know what they're doing. And that sometimes gets me a point, just jumping across, not even having the ball come to me. So definitely useful. It's a great skill to have, great tool to have in the belt, and to be able to see the setup as it's happening. It's just pickleball IQ. So I wouldn't say shy away from it. Even if you're a beginner, try it. Why not? I mean, this game's supposed to be fun, right? I mean, do we remember why we started playing? Because it's fun, right?
To win, to kick
no,
the
it's
butts,
fun.
to kick the ass of all the old people. CJ, can I answer for you and for me on the Ernie? Because I'm gonna be the contrarian of the group. So I'm gonna say no, and I'm not gonna give you a bunch of reasons because I could be here for an hour talking about it. But I'm gonna give you one piece of evidence, okay? Which is the top players at the pro level don't Ernie. All right. Oh, yeah. Process that for a minute. JW Johnson did an Ernie the other day, and I was like, he Ernie'd. It was like one time in like 15 matches.
I agree with that, actually.
Process that. We're not. Wait. This is lightning round pickleball ball. We can't get deep. I know. We'll have a conversation later about it, but there's other reasons for it. And I will say there is a potential downside. I'm going to throw this out here because I do want to say there is safety. Our good friend of ours here, who's I can't say her name, but she's very active with a paddle company like that. But she was trying to work on it, and she's over 50. Blew both of her knees up. So be careful if you're doing Ernies, okay, folks? All right, next one. Anna Lee Waters is unbeatable in any bracket. Yes or no? Let's start the other way around. Sarah, you go first this time.
Oh, yeah, that's putting me on the spot. I love ALW. She's so awesome, and she's so versatile and dynamic. So
if you're going to say she's beatable, you need to tell me how she's beatable. That's what I want to hear. I want somebody to tell me
you're hard up to beat her, but I mean, she can be overpowered for sure. I mean,
by who?
When Ben Johns gets a good grip of that ball, it's going to be hard for her to get. And you got to move her around. If you're moving her around, you can find the holes. It's like anybody. Anyone can be moved around and holes opened up.
All right. But so you're saying she is beatable. You're saying yes.
She's beatable.
All right.
But
Pickleball Mama, what you got? Beatable or not beatable?
Beatable.
All right. Who's gonna? What bracket and who's gonna beat her? Just give me a bracket and who.
I think the young guys coming up that have a lot more tricks up their sleeve is gonna be able to take her out.
Like in the next 5 years?
I don't know.
5 years from now, maybe.
I don't know. I've seen these young guys hit some shots that I do not know. I have not seen before.
Hayden Patrick and Gabriel Tardio, they're playing sick pickleball right now. I got you, but all right. All right, what you got, Cindy? Can you comment on this or no? I don't know. Is this allowed?
I'm gonna say any player is beatable.
Oh, we're talking about Ellie Waters, not any player. All right. Ercilio, you sidestepped that one. I like it. Ercilio, what you got?
I mean, I kind of agree with Sidney, right? Every player is beatable. I mean, there is no player that will be on the top without losing. However, an league has shown us like all these years, like all the records and like how going winning a strike. But I do believe like someone is gonna come at some point and like take over. I mean,
I mean,
you
at
see that
some point,
happening.
yeah, when she's like 45, she's going to get beat for sure, right?
But you see that happen now on the men's division, right? I mean, like you're seeing new faces.
No, it's not the same. Not the same, Marcilio. Annalie Waters is so far above the next player in the women's. I'm gonna be the contrarian the whole night. I'm gonna be the contrarian because she is unbeatable in any bracket right now. If you were gonna bet $100, right, on any player on the women, I'll make a deal with you. How about this? Let's change it up. In any bracket you want, obviously with a reasonable partner, right? You can pick Annalie Waters or the field for a $100 bet. Are you picking Annalie Waters or the field? You're picking Annalie Waters. Get out of here. Yeah, we're going to the next question. You guys are not betting on the field. You're betting on Annalie Waters because you want to get your money back. All right, here we go. All right, rally scoring. Is it the future of pickleball? And if so, good or bad for the sport? And Sydney, can I put you on the spot here? You guys use it in MLP, so you got to be like, rally scoring is the best. I love rally scoring, so I'm going to go on the record.
I love rally scoring. I just think that players get a little bit more hyped with it. But I think points should be rewarded for every rally won, and that's why I believe in it so much. So,
all right. Good. Yeah. So it's the future and good, right? I got you on that, yes. On the record. All right, good. Let's go, Sarah. Shoot it. Go.
Future and good. Yeah. It keeps things more exciting. It doesn't go stale like regular scoring to 11. Things you can get stuck on 0-1 for like 10 rallies, and that's not fun to watch or play. So yes, rally scoring.
And the freeze is nerve-wracking. Pickleball Mama, what you got on it? Good or future and good, bad?
Future and good. It helps me keep score.
You know what? I love your perspective. I'm just like, oh, chill. She's like, yeah, it just makes it easier for me. I love it.
I can't keep score. Okay. Rally scoring. I stay on one side. And I think it's good for the sport because people outside of the sport have no clue.
New players. The hardest thing of playing pickleball is the scoring, learning how to score. It's the most
frustrating part. And it makes people really upset to play the sport.
I agree. So, hey, Celia, what you got?
I mean, I do believe it's the future. I mean, now as a tournament director and like leading all the live stream, I mean, I do believe like rally scoring is the way to go in order to be televised. Also for the players, I mean, as Sydney said, like every point should be rewarded. Something that I don't agree though, which I hope like it doesn't happen again, is the frozen, like the frozen whenever you get to a certain point. I don't agree with that. But however, the rally scoring, I think, is the way to go.
Hey, Cindy, you got to freeze it. Otherwise it gets boring. Like once it's like, 20 to 15, it's over, game over. There's no chance of coming back. So I think you got to freeze it. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I'll tell you this. I think that I'll give you guys, if you're out there listening, and CJ, I want to hear about the community in a second, but I'm going to give you this little tip. Rally scoring exposes the weaknesses in your game sooner. Because if you're missing your third shots against somebody who's making them, right, and everything else is even, you're probably going to lose anyway. Right? Even on a regular scoring game, assuming everything else is even. But in rally scoring, you see it right away because you missed that third and you lost that point. So it's much more painful and you'll fix it sooner. So just a little thing to think about there. CJ, what we got in the community out there? What's going on? Are people liking the lightning round? They don't like this? What's going on?
They like the lightning round. The mix, it's a mix on rally scoring, as it always is. Whenever we're talking about rally scoring, you have it is not like, oh, it's okay. It's generally
either great or terrible.
I love it or I hate it, and I'm going to kill somebody who mentions rally scoring. So, it just a mixed bag.
All right, we got two more questions for you guys, and we'll let you off the hook. All right, for Pulse of Pickleball. So this is important. This one's really important, and community, share this one too, please, because this is helpful for us and for everybody else on this thing. Best item, not a paddle. And not shoes. Best item, not paddle, not shoes that you have in your pickleball bag. Pickleball Mama, you got to have something. This is right up your alley. I got you right here.
What? Warm up stuff like bands. Warm up stuff like bands.
Oh my God! See, you're CJ's new best friend. CJ and you just bonded.
I will not get hurt. I will not get hurt. I will warm up.
You'll not get hurt because you didn't warm up. That's true.
Yeah, correct.
Right. Sydney, what you got? What you carry in your bag?
I think actually a tripod is the most beneficial thing, even if you're a content creator or not. Like the reason why It's just because I think that everyone should be recording all of their games to see what they're doing wrong, regardless if they're going to post it or not. I feel like that's how I improved so much, was just watching all my rec play games.
And big shout out to everybody who's posting it on YouTube, because content creators are like, I do a lot of game studies. And so that's super important for me to be able to have access to. I ran across a channel the other day. I was like, what is this? And it had like, all of a sudden I see like Jesse Irvine, Lacey Schneeman, and they're playing these rec games on this like yellow line court. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is like a treasure trove. And Celio, what do you have other than a passport, obviously?
Definitely wristbands and towels. I mean, like there are some tournaments like so hot, so it's like having something like to cover, like take out my sweat. Like definitely, like I'll go with that.
I played with Ercilio in the hybrid event at the U.S. Open, and it was both of us were sweating pretty hard. It was a good day though. Sarah, what you got in your bag?
You're gonna groan. I love the hats and the dresses and the bling. I love my wardrobe since I started playing pickleball. That's my favorite thing
Sarah,
about it. I love it.
But you brought it up. You said, why do we play pickleball? Right? It's a fun event. It's not like work. So enjoy yourself out there. CJ, what you got? What's your favorite thing in your bag?
My favorite thing in my bag? Oh my goodness. I gotta be honest. It's electrolytes. I mean, yeah. I don't feel good unless I'm drinking something, and I don't like just plain water. So I always have some electrolytes in my bag, and that is my favorite. I put
CJ on the spot. CJ's back to doing the producing, the editing, the directing.
I'm reading, and I'm going. I'm about to put up wrist splint, and I'm like, no, I don't need a wrist splint in my bag yet, but plenty of people do, right?
All right. So here we go. Last question. Final question. All right, and this one's easy, I think. Level of excitement for the remainder of the Pickleball Summit. You got 3 choices. Excited, super excited, or will not get any sleep. I'm so excited. So excited, super excited for the rest of the summer presentations. Dylan, Kwang, Judy, everybody who's presenting. So you can choose super excited, or will not get any sleep. I'm so excited. Anybody? Nobody.
I need to get some sleep. I play tomorrow, so I'm super excited. I am super excited.
Yeah. Super excited. I also need
super excited.
All right. Excellent. That's awesome. All right, cool. All right. I thought that was really awesome. CJ Johnson, anything else from the audience? Any questions? Anything we got to address before we tell everybody what's coming next?
Everybody is all excited about the summit that is coming up. Just wanted to mention that all of these creators, they are all over. They are on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They are at thepickleballsummit.com. If you want to get their information so that you can get connected to them, go to this talk page, right? You get your free ticket at pickleballsummit.com. Go to the Pulse of Pickleball talk page. All of their information and how to get connected with all these insightful, lovely pickleball players is right there. So go ahead and get connected with them, because they definitely have their fingers on the pulse of pickleball.
Yeah, if you love pickleball, you got to love everybody on this panel and follow them, see what's going on, hear from them, let them know what you're thinking about pickleball, share with them. This is a community sport, right? You can see the positive vibes, the positive energy that this group has. Really appreciate everybody being here. We're going to be back on Sunday at 4 p.m. Is it 4 p.m. or 4:30? I forget.
It is. We are on at 4 p.m. on Sunday, and we got Nicole.
4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I got to make sure we tell the Eastern people, because the people on the Eastern side like me. It's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. With Nicole Havlicek from Primetime Pickleball. You don't want to miss that. Folks, it was a pleasure. It was awesome to have you all on the panel. Really appreciate what you're doing for pickleball, for helping grow the sport of pickleball locally, statewide, and also internationally, and everything you do to spread the love of the sport. Love you guys and appreciate everything you're doing.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Love ya.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, everybody.